Hi, it's Jordan here, compassionate behaviorist. Want to talk to you about two ways of approaching the world and two ways of approaching yourself, the inner world. It's the external and the inner world. Two ways are, first, you might have heard of it, Nimby. Not in my backyard is what Nimby stands for. Nimby comes up oftentimes in local politics when a city or a municipality wants to put in a new bus stop or bus route or a homeless shelter or a jail or a prison or some kind of establishment that people in the area don't want to have there, that neighborhoods are afraid of or don't want to have there, oftentimes because it's going to lower their property rates, their value of their homes or their property. So NIMBY stands for not in my backyard. That's one way of approaching, of course, neighborhood issues, and we can see it in broader contexts, right? We can see it in cultural, socio-political events, such as building a wall, such as banning certain peoples from coming into a country. So NIMBY might be very much in line with President Trump and Trump supporters in terms of how they view the world or how they view priorities to them. Another approach to NIMBY would be called Yimby. It's very cheesy. Yimby would be yes in my backyard. So seems very counterintuitive, right? If you lived in a neighborhood and they were going to build a jail near you or a prison, to say, yeah, let's do that here. I can imagine many people wouldn't be on board with saying, let's do that in my backyard. Or a homeless shelter, for that matter. Maybe people would be willing to pay taxes for a homeless shelter, but then if it was going to be located near where you lived, people would say, I don't know about that. So the embodiment, if President Trump, say, is the embodiment of NIMBY, then Mr. Rogers would be the embodiment of Yimby. And so I have my Mr. Rogers sweater on. The first time I wore this, or one of the first times I wore this at place of employment, one of my friends at work said, "You remind me so much of Mr. Rogers right now." I think she felt a little bad saying that to me. I totally took it as a compliment. If I can be your Mr. Rogers or anything like him, then I'm glad to do that. He's a hero of mine. So, and then a few years later, I had another coworker who was a newer coworker, saw me with this sweater on and said, "You know, Jordan, I feel just so at peace when I see you with that sweater on." He had this great Arkansas accent. Anyway, Mr. Rogers is someone who I aspire to be more like, more so than Mr. Trump. Sorry for all you Trumpers out there. Yes, in my backyard. So this would be, won't you be my neighbor? This would be this kind of mentality. So what does this have to do with mental health? It's that oftentimes we approach our inner experience, especially when it's painful, with the NIMBY approach. It's not that we're trying to, it just happens. Difficult emotions, difficult thoughts, we suppress them, we avoid them, we do things to try to control them or solve them or put them away from us. Not in my backyard. You know, a thought like a depressing thought, feelings of hopelessness, a mean thought towards someone else or judgmental towards someone else. We might try to suppress them, avoid them, or we might try to justify or rationalize for it to be there rather than kind of opening up to it, like Rumi talks about. I'll do a video about Rumi and his great poem, The Guest House. Mindfulness and acceptance strategies teach us to open up to our inner experience, to invite them in. It doesn't mean we have to like them or approve of them. You know, there is valid reasons to value security and safety and to not want to dwell on negative emotions. And however, the more we try to focus on controlling or suppressing negative emotions or experiences, the more power they gain often. And so the Yimby approach would be one where we would open up to whatever emotions or thoughts or physical sensations we're having and allow them to be our neighbor, allow them to be in our backyard, and to greet them with compassion, with curiosity, with openness, and notice they won't stay the same, they will transform. So opening up to sadness doesn't mean you'll be sad forever. Opening up to anger doesn't mean you'll be angry forever. It actually means that you'll have these emotions will have a lot less power over you, but you'll be able to be more free to choose how you interact with them. So, Yimby might feel counterintuitive, like it's not safe, but I encourage you to try it out. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and won't you be my neighbor? See ya.